You also did a video for the doctors, a TV show. The video was called 5 LGBTQ Myth Busters with Dr. Judy Ho. Is it normal to be a LGBTQ person? Is that normal?
Well, again, I don't like to talk about dimensions of abnormality because it's not really about, normal versus abnormal. I think it's just a different way of identification. So that's why we did that segment. It's like there's a lot of misconceptions about those segments of the population.
Is there such a thing as abnormal and normal?
I don't really use terms like abnormal and normal. That's a big part of, the psychology field, trying to move away from trying to over-pathologize people. So it's not really about abnormality. It's like, if it's bothering you, if it's an area of distress or it's impacting your life, then let's look at it and let's try to deal with it. And that's really how the DSM, which is our diagnostic manual, has moved towards. Like, how do we define somebody as having a condition? Condition means that the person feels really distressed or that their major areas of life are being impacted, like work, social life, relationships, and things like that.
Why don't you use abnormal or normal? Why don't you use that? Why not observe that?
Oh, because I don't think that it's a useful construct for me. I mean, obviously other people may find that those words are important to them, but it's not a useful construct for me in my professional work. So it's really important that, we don't utilize it that way. But, I don't fault anybody who wants to talk about things in that way. Everybody is entitled to their own opinions.
Even though you might not say it out loud, you do recognize normal and abnormal when you see it. You may not say it, but you do recognize it.
I just don't use those constructs in my work.
So. That's what I'm saying. You may not use it out loud, but do you recognize when it's normal or abnormal?
No, I don't really use those constructs. I don't think that they're useful constructs. So I don't even remember the last time I even said the word abnormal.
Really? That's amazing.
Yeah. I know. It's like not a common word in my vocabulary.
One last thing about that is I saw a report the other day on one of the TV channels about a lot of these young kids are going to the experts. The boys are telling the experts they feel like girls. The girls are telling experts that they feel like a boy, right? Mm-hmm. And so what the expert does is give them medication to start changing their hormone thing, right? And they end up cutting off their body parts. And then down the road later, they realize, hey, I don't feel that way anymore. But their body parts been cut off, and now they're stuck and they're committed suicide. And a lot of these people are dying by way of suicide because the experts are leading them down the wrong road. What should parents and children do when the kids think they feel like a girl or a guy when they really are a guy or a girl? What should they do?
Well, I'll tell you that in our professional experiences and how we try to tell people, advise people when they feel like they have a gender identity that doesn't match their biological sex, is that generally the accepted protocol is that it takes years of therapy and talking to medical doctors and talking to your family to really make sure that this is what you want. And I've heard of people sometimes complaining about how long that process is, but I think it's important to have that process so that people can be thoughtful and really think through what the implications are of each of their choices. And It's obviously a really big decision. So I don't know about as many cases where maybe that process was rushed, for example. But one thing that you did say is important to point out is that in the community of people who would identify as transgendered, suicidal rates and suicidal thoughts are higher, and I think that there is a lot more distress trying to manage all of those different things and different things flying at you at different directions. And so, I will just tell you that as part of the professional psychology community, there's usually like a whole protocol that people have to go through. It's like, are you certain? Let's meet with your counselor multiple times. Let's meet with your doctor. Let's talk about what it really means if you start taking hormones or actually going through a sexual gender reassignment surgery, because there's big implications either way. And I think that the process should be thoughtful and hopefully embraced by the person who's contemplating this, because it's obviously a big decision.
Right. As a forensic neuropsychologist, what is the evidence that people are born gay?
You know, I would not be able to speak about that because I'm not as well versed in the most recent literature about it.
Oh,
And I
okay.
know that there's always a debate about it, but you know, I'm not really well versed enough to be able to talk about that.
Do you know who Bruce Jenner is?
Somewhat familiar,
When you see
yes.
him in a dress, do you think this is a woman, or do you? And you might not say it out loud, but do you know that this is a male?
You know, I don't follow Bruce Jenner's career that much. I know that obviously recently Bruce has come out and identified as a transgender and
Right.
that he identifies as female, but I don't really follow those
But
types
when
of
you
topical
see
news
him in the
that
media,
much.
when you
Yeah.
see him in the media on TV somewhere, do you think this is a male in a dress, or does it say to you this is a woman in a dress?
Oh, I haven't seen him in media lately. I
But
actually haven't really seen any of the, you know, different types of things that he's done where he's dressed
right.
like a woman. So
So
it would
you
be hard
never
for me to
seen
say
Bruce
that.
Jenner in a dress?
No, I haven't.
Amazing.
Yeah, I know. You know, Jesse, I actually don't follow like topical news as much.
Oh,
So I don't
okay.
actually look like I don't follow like I don't follow like the Kardashians or you know things like that quite as often. So I wouldn't be able to answer that question.
All right.